Hi, it's Dean here from Showreel Mastery, and I just thought I would record this really quick little video because something that we get asked a lot when we're working with actors is what do all these on-set phrases mean? Now, some of them are self-explanatory and you might be able to figure out pretty quickly, but others not so. So here is our list of the most commonly used on-set phrases that actors really need to know. So the first one, of course, is call time. Okay, now call time is the time when you are expected to arrive on set. There is a saying that if you're not early, you're late. So call time is a very, very important thing to take note of. And if your call time is, say, 7 a.m., you need to be there at exactly 7 a.m., not 7:03, certainly not 7:05. And of course, the stakes are very high on a film set. If someone delays, then of course you're delaying the whole production, which of course can be costing many, many thousands of dollars an hour. Everyone has a different call time, of course, on film sets. And of course, depending on what the schedule looks like for the day, you might have a specific call time that is unique to you. Okay, the second one is blocking. Now, blocking, of course, is the physical movement on the set. Directors and actors often work together to do what's known as a block through, which is essentially where we're deciding what the movement of the scene will be, which actor will move where on any given time. And of course, once that blocking is decided upon, it is locked in. And of course, it needs to be repeated again and again throughout the day as you film the scene. Obviously, you're filming from different camera angles, so these angles all have to match. So it's important that once we have locked in our blocking, we remember it and we commit to it. So the next term is a mark, okay? Now, a mark essentially is a place where an actor needs to stand at a given moment in the scene. So during the block through, each actor is given their own marks. You might have move to here, that's mark 1. Then after another passage of dialogue, you move to here, that's mark 2. It's really important that you hit your marks and of course you remember your marks. Why do we have marks? Well, one of the many reasons is because, of course, on set, there's someone whose job it is to pull focus. And of course, they want to make sure that when you arrive in that spot, that you're in focus. And of course, so they will set their own marks on the follow focus to ensure that when you hit mark number 1, they hit focus mark number 1, and everybody is in focus. So if you exceed your mark or you don't quite arrive at your mark, of course, it can mean that you are out of focus and you have to go again, and nobody wants that. Marks are often indicated on the set by sometimes using some fluorescent tape to show you where you have to stand. Sometimes we have these kind of T-shaped marking objects. And other times, if the camera is going to see the floor, it might not be possible to set an actual visible mark for you on the set. So you just simply have to orientate yourself in the space and remember where your mark is. One of the many challenges of the acting process. Great, and the next term is back to ones. Now, this is a term that you will hear your first assistant director generally saying on set, and generally what it means is that it's time to reset to do another take. Why back to one? Well, one refers to the first position. Now, if you're an actor who is entering into the scene or entering into the shot, then your first position is liable to be off camera. Of course, you will have a first position. In a lot of scenes, you'll then have a second position. You'll then have a third position. And of course, sometimes the AD might ask you to take your first position, then run through and take your second position, then show us your third position. And of course, this is so that the focus puller can make sure that the focus marks are correct for each of the different positions. And of course, that the lighting team can make sure that the lighting is all good and that you are well lit around the set. So when you hear the term back to one, that means go back to your first position on set. Eyeline. What is eyeline? Well, the eyeline, as the name suggests, is the direction in which you're looking. We often hear the term eyeline used on set when we're setting up. You might hear an AD or someone in the camera department say, show me your eyeline to the other actor. And of course, what you're being asked to do there is to look at the other actor in the way that you will in the scene, so that, of course, we can check the frame, check focus, check lighting, all these sorts of things. So the eyeline is simply the line, the imaginary line that comes from your eye. And of course, it also refers to when you're looking at someone, show me your eye line to the other actor. The next term is the term cheat. Okay, now we all know what the term cheat means in life, but on a film set, we cheat a lot. And essentially what the term cheat refers to is making an adjustment that is not strictly speaking in keeping with the continuity established in the scene, but that no one will notice when the film is cut together. So a good example of a cheat, for example, is if we have got a scene where you've got two actors in a space talking to one another, okay, and we see them in a two-shot, so we see them both in the frame, and then when we come in for the close-ups, we actually adjust the movement of the actors, sometimes quite substantially. Maybe perhaps we adjust them in order to be able to fit the camera into the space or to be able to put a light in a certain space. We cheat the position of the actors, so they're actually in a different position when we do the close-ups to where they were in the two-shot, but of course in the language of film we get away with the cheat because when it's all cut together, no one will ever know that they're not in the same position. Another really common one is cheating backgrounds, okay, and we do this a lot when we're filming, say outside on the street. We might have, again, two actors who are maybe facing one another in a scene, but then, you know, we've got to swing around, do the close-up, so we've got to look the other direction, but we don't like the background behind here. Maybe the background's too busy or there's traffic or what have you. Maybe it just doesn't look any good. So we might actually swing the actor right around, and if we haven't actually seen the background that's behind that actor in the other shot, then the audience will never know as long as we move both actors in relationship to one another. Camera left and camera right. Now, we all know our left-hand side from our right-hand side, or at least most of the time, but when we are talking about camera right or camera left, this is of course from the perspective of the camera. So in a situation where the camera is facing you, like the camera is facing me right now, and I'm asked to move camera left, then what this means is I'm asked to move to my right-hand side, because from the camera's perspective, this is, of course, on the left-hand side. However, if I was facing in the same direction as the camera, of course, camera right and my right-hand side would, of course, be the same. So camera right, camera left is always from the perspective of the camera, and when you're following a direction to move either camera right or camera left, you need to consider the direction the camera is facing and then obviously work out what right or what left is from the perspective of the camera. Dirtying the frame. Now, we all love a good dirty movie, but that's not what this refers to. Dirtying the frame or having a dirty frame is a frame in which there is something in the foreground, usually out of focus. Okay, so a good example, of course, is if we are doing a dirty close-up of somebody. It'll be a close-up where they are in focus, but you might see the shoulder of the person they're facing in the shot as well. That's a dirty frame. And sometimes we want to deliberately dress things into the foreground of the frame to make the frame dirty, because this can, you know, make the scene feel more connected in editorial, and of course can enhance the sense of place. A clean single. Now, a clean single is, of course, the opposite of a dirty frame. A clean single is a single is obviously a shot of a single person, and there is nothing in the foreground to obscure the camera's view of the person. Okay? Directors, cinematographers often make a decision about whether, when they're covering their close-ups, they're going to shoot dirty singles or clean singles. And of course, it's a stylistic choice. There are implications to obviously both choices, and one of the issues that can occur when we've got a dirty frame is that you can often see foreground movement, and this foreground movement imposes a certain continuity, meaning that we have to, you know, take into consideration the movement when we're constructing our edit. The Martini Shot. Okay, now this is the last shot of the day, and you'll often hear crew saying, we're going for the martini, and there's a bit of a sigh of relief because oftentimes, of course, shooting days are very long days, but when we are going for the martini shot, we know that we are nearly there. We can see the finish line. It is the final shot of the day. And one more bonus while we're talking about alcoholic terms, and this one I think is probably a very Australian term, but a slab. Now, you often hear people say slab, and what this is referring to is that they've usually left their phone on the set, or they've allowed some other interruption to occur that has broken up the moment, just like a little doggy running into the frame, for example, and the person responsible has to buy a slab for the crew. And of course, a slab is a term for just a case of beer. But oftentimes in Australia, it's just a slab. So if you let your phone ring or you let your doggy run into shot, you got to buy a slab. I hope you've enjoyed this short video about commonly used on-set terms, and of course you can learn plenty more about the film set and the filmmaking process inside Showreel Mastery, which is an online course where you will be able to gain real filmmaking skills and come out with a professional showreel using tools that you probably already own. Okay, I'll see you in class.